I think I'm live. Um, this is just gonna be. I'm not even gonna make this a big deal. This is just something that I'm just gonna put together real quick. I apologize for my choppy live stream techniques, but a couple of videos I want to just like say and talk about, or just put out there that I have been noticing these last couple of days and weeks or whatever. And for anybody who doesn't know me personally, which you probably all don't, um, I've been seeking some truths in my life for a long time. I have never been one to go about the mainstream narrative. I've always been fully against it, and I'm learning as I go. We all are. I love having discussions about all the off topics that people don't really like to talk about, because that's what we need to do, right? And we need to just kind of bring it out into the open. Anyways, so what I wanted to just kind of showcase today was just a couple of things, and I know nobody's watching my stream right now, but that's okay. No pressure. um, I just want to showcase a couple of things that I've watched multiple angles of, and and one of them was David Icke's speech in London during the Freedom Rally, which is a really great speech, and I've watched it about, I'd say, a handful of times now. But I think this part is my favorite part. Hi, Rowan. Hi. Thanks for joining, babe. This is my favorite part of the whole thing, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it, and let me know if you could hear all of this. Sorry, I'm just gonna play it again because I have to. It's something that's really important. Hopefully, you guys can hear me now. If you guys can hear me, just let me know. Give me a little thumbs up or something. Let me know if it sounds a little bit better. I probably have an echo now, but that's okay. How about now, my dear? Can you hear me now? Okay, yeah, I can hear it back on the playback now, so I know it's working. So which is good. Sorry about the delay too. I mean, I'm working with like one screen and a shit ton of windows popping up. This part of the speech really, really got to me because it's true, and this is what we've been screaming for such a long time, you know? Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and pause that for a second. Let me go back. Thanks, Ronan, for being here to help me with this. Can't hear nothing, but it's. I'm trying. I think the next thing I really wanted to show. Can you hear me at all? Is there any voice coming through at all? I know there's like a good 4 or 5 second delay. No, you're doing. Thank you for just being here. So, thanks for just hanging out. I mean, if you can hear me, that's awesome. How are you today? Are you doing all right? I'm just, I was doing really good on the community server live stream. I think I had it down, but trying to do these things on your own, it's like it's weird. You get a little setback for some reason because you just you want to talk about truths and stuff, and I don't know. I think I'm one of those people that I like to think and instead of going on a live stream or whatnot, I like to do the research behind it, and so today I just decided to do a live stream because that video of David Icke, which I'm sure you guys you've watched, it's a very powerful speech. It's a very good speech, and at the end of it was where I was like trying to get to, or it talks about like we need to come together, like this is it, we have no time but now. And one of my biggest things that I've been researching a lot of is, the Pizzagate stuff and the pedophilia that's becoming fucking normalized in this country, and I can't sit back. I can't be quiet about it. It bugs the shit out of me. So hopefully this video pops in and the sound works and stuff, because Amazing Polly just did an amazing video talking about all this stuff. And this is something that's just, it can't be ignored anymore. I can't find it in my soul to ignore this stuff anymore. My video earlier. Oh, something else I probably mirrored. Yeah. I only mirror stuff on my channel that resonates with me, that makes sense to me, and I do appreciate that people like it or go and sub these people's channels, because they do speak a lot of really significant truths, and that's what we're all trying to do, right? We're all trying to piece together the truths and stuff. So yeah, let's see if this fucking video works. We'll see. Tell me how the sound is, okay?
So it begins. The press has the unenviable task of basically saying, will you disavow this group that wants to bring down corruption and stop child trafficking? Oh, things have happened since then. The tables have kind of turned on them, because right now, everybody and their dog, except the leftist media, are disavowing this. It's a movie called Cuties. I don't know if you've heard of it, so let me give you the briefest breakdown of the scenario. There's a French black filmmaker who made this movie. She's calling it a coming-of-age film that examines the hypersexualization of young girls in culture. And as you can see, the American version chose quite a different poster than the French version did. The poster is just the tip of the iceberg. I've seen scenes from this movie, and they are pornographic. They are softcore pornographic, and these girls are 11 years old. Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, Republican, calls for a criminal investigation into Netflix over the film Cuties. He says, these scenes in and of themselves are harmful, and it is likely that the filming of this movie created even more explicit and abusive scenes. So sensible people from whatever political stripe are agreeing in saying that this movie is filth and it's dangerous and damaging. Here's an example of how the public feels. On the Cuties official trailer from Netflix, 1.9 million thumbs downs. However, the usual suspects, the cadre of progressive mouthpieces, are coming out in favor, explicitly in favor of the movie Cuties. And they're using various tactics to try to shame anyone who is against the movie. Let's start here with Alyssa Rosenberg. The freak out about Cuties bothers me more than almost anything I've seen in a decade as a critic. And in this headline from the Washington Post, it actually says, the people freaking out about Cuties should try it. We should try it? We should just watch the soft-core child porn movie to see if we like it. That's the advice of Alyssa Rosenberg. Well, who is she? Alyssa Rosenberg is Matt Gertz's wife. Matt Gertz is a senior fellow at Media Matters for America. Interesting, because Media Matters for America is run by a guy named David Brock, who may or may not have been sexually exploited by Representative Barney Frank when he was younger. There's photos out there. You should look for it. And he was also, as you can see, partners with, dating for a long time, James Alefantis. James Alefantis is the owner of Comet Ping Pong, Comet Pizza, Pizzagate. If you want to learn more about this whole thing, I did a video called The Richest, Most Twisted Swamp Creatures Ever, and it's all about that. You could go back in time and look at that if you want to learn more. So that's very interesting that it's those guys defending the movie Cuties, but they are not the only ones. Here's a selection of headlines Orwell and Good collected, you might think that the people who are pro softcore child porn would be the creepy ones, but of course, the media mouthpieces have done what they always do. They've just flipped the script. Slate says the creepy conservative obsession with Netflix's cuties explained. And these other two headlines say, why is the alt-right obsessed with pedophilia? Why are right-wing conspiracies so obsessed with pedophilia? Flip the script. The Observer.
So I kind of wanted to pause it right there. And that's true. Like, I mean, she gets more into it, which I think is fascinating, because it seems that, well, she even she'll get more into it, but people are like counteracting the Save the Children movement, or the fact that people are waking up to the whole, pedophile rings and human trafficking and Hollywood and all these insane things that are happening, but they're counteracting it with, why are these people doing it? Oh, let's blame it on QAnon, which I'm not a big QAnon fan. I've never followed QAnon that much. I just started recently looking into it because it's taking some headway. But it is very interesting that they would try to discredit people looking into this, and again, calling people looking into it conspiracy theorists. It's like, I mean, you see where I'm going. It's like, where are these people's mindsets? Why are they thinking this way? Why are they trying to... She explains it more. I mean, it's all an agenda. It's all about money. It's all about who you work for. It's all about... it's something that I can't... As a human being, as a normal, regular human being, I cannot... there's an echo. Okay, hold on. I cannot figure out why people think that any sort of exploitation of children is okay. Any kind of defending of this kind of rhetoric is, in my eyes, that's demon. That's a demon, right? It's somebody who is not from this plane. It's somebody who's not alive or awake. It's like, who are you? Are you soulless? Do you come from another realm? What, I mean, yes, it's Luciferian, yes, it's satanic, but how are people actually making this thing like an okay thing? I mean, how is that even, like, how does that rock anybody's... I just don't get it. And knowing people that are in the LGBTQ community and all these, communities, I know for a fact that the majority of them will never condone this kind of behavior. Nobody would ever, ever, ever really think that this is okay. For the most part, like when I think of this stuff, I'm thinking, what kind of trauma did this person go through? And I'm sorry for the echo, you guys. I'm trying to work that out. What kind of trauma did these people go through to make them think that they're the person that was doing this harm to them? Yes, it goes back to, like, somebody that they trusted and stuff. But I don't know, it's so weird, I feel sad. I feel sad right now because I'm a native Californian, and they just passed this bill, the SB 145. I don't know if anybody's... Hey, National Memorial Gardens, thanks for being here, babe. They just passed this bill where it's okay. Well, no, what it is that people... A 24-year-old has sex with a, say, 14-year-old. Instead of directly putting them on a sex offender registry, they're literally like saying, let me just put this against, above a judge, and the judge can decide. I think it's automatic. So you're saying a 20-year-old can have sex with a 10-year-old and then they have to, like, go through the court system for it? No, automatically that's bad. That's a bad thing. I just don't understand what's happening right now. I mean, how is this, like, slipping through the cracks right now with everything that's going on? Anyways, I'm gonna continue Polly's video because I know I get, like, all over the place with this stuff, but I'm just like, what the hell is happening? But she puts it in real good layman's terms. So let's continue that, okay?
Let's have a look at who's involved in Sundance.
Sorry about that.
Man who was abused by Sundance Film Festival co-founder when he was 13 tells how he confronted the filmmaker 26 years later and secretly recorded him admitting, and all of the rest of it. It's a huge, enormous industry, and they're protecting it.
You'll see in a second.
Let's look a little bit at Netflix and why the uber left, the insane radicals, might be defending Netflix and this movie. Here's one reason. Jesse Lee Peterson tweeted, "The main character in Cuties is an 11-year-old black girl. In this day and age, there is no way Netflix put out a movie sexually exploiting a black girl without approval from their most influential partners, the Obamas and Susan Rice. That would not happen. Not happening," he says. Right. Did you know that? Obama and his wife and Susan Rice from his administration are all on the board of Netflix. So they probably vetted this film. And also, look at this. You see how it won a Sundance Award from the Sundance Film Festival? How could that be if it was child porn? Would that really happen? Let's have a look at who's involved in Sundance. Man who was abused by Sundance Film Festival co-founder when he was 13 tells how he confronted the filmmaker 26 years later and secretly recorded him admitting to the abuse. This is from the 29th of April, 2019. Sundance Film Festival co-founder charged with sex abuse. Sterling Van Wagenen, Oscar-winning filmmaker and co-founder of the Sundance Film Festival, April 29th, has been charged with sexually abusing a 9-year-old girl. Salt Lake City, Utah. He's from Utah, by the way. April 11th, 2019. What else can we dig up on Netflix? This just happened on the 14th of September. Jerry Harris from Cheer under FBI investigation for allegedly soliciting sex from minors. Further in that article, we find out that in February, Harris stood on a Dallas stage beside Oprah Winfrey, who handed him her microphone and asked him to pump up the crowd with his signature Matt talk. The same month, he interviewed celebrities on the red carpet of the Oscars.
So I kind of wanted to pause it right there, only because these are things that have been showing up for a long time, right? These people on screen, you know, Oprah and Ellen, all these people. no, Biden. Well, Biden for a long time. You think about it now, for the last like 30 years. Like, I'm just going to base back to 30 years because I've only been on this plane of existence for, and I'm going to say 40 years. I've always noticed that the same rhetoric happens all the time. And so now that we're digging into it, and we're looking into it more, and we're seeing that these, you know, and I'm not a biblical person, but fuck, man, it just makes sense. It had the the face of a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon, right? And so, but we're now transitioning into this other thing where like these people that we thought we trusted, that we looked up, not looked up to. I mean, my mom's generation looked up to people like this. I never really cared for the Ellen Show. I always thought it was kind of weird because they were pushing agendas that I wasn't like really fond of. And you know, what the hell? Oh, I'm not echoing that out of me. Okay, so I'm gonna pause that. How am I doing now? How's my echo now, babe? A little less. I'm telling you, working with one monitor and one streaming device with like a ton of windows open, I'm bound to get it wrong, right? Does it sound okay now? Is it better now? Okay. I apologize. I have to toggle, so thank you for bearing with me again, you guys. These are things in my head all the time, and I don't really talk about it because I'm too busy watching things that are happening and unfolding around us. And I'm glad that people are finally waking up to the whole, the pedophilia thing and stuff like that, because even before all this, before 2020, this was something that was in our faces and nobody talked about it. People were screaming it at us and nobody talked about it. And we're looking at these figures now that are on the screen. And they used to be our, the people that we would watch on daytime TV. Like, oh, these people are, doing good. And now they're just like, they're the culprits, It's like, I don't know if anybody else is having this like weird, transition in life where it's like, why... what? Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. My daughter's in the background. Why didn't we see this before? People did see it and they were screaming at us, but the majority of us never saw it. We were thinking, wow, the brainwashing is so real, and the propaganda was so real, and I guess I'm saying that I'm really sad that I didn't see it earlier, or I ignored it earlier. Is what I'm saying. Because now that you go down those rabbit holes, and I'm just so proud. I'm honestly really happy to be on this side, the truth side of it all now, because being on the other side would just be really like heartbreaking. And people who are still on the other side, the ones wearing masks, the ones not looking into anything, the ones that are just scared to come out of their shell and speak their truths. Which I was that person for a long time. I'm so glad that I'm not that person, and I'm on the other side of history. Her story, its story, whatever story, It's hard. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gardens. Yeah, it's true. It's like, I don't know, once that veil is lifted, I mean, what else do you do with it? You can't go back, and I don't know about you guys, but it all started, a lot of people go way back to when it started, the whole 9/11 stuff. And for me, it started with, honestly, flat Earth, and never really expressed that to any, people knew that I was a globe denier, because, look at the evidence, but this is so much bigger than all of that. We're looking at a civil war happening right now. The Civil War is happening right now. We are in World War III, a planned agenda. Things are happening. We're all completely, like the people that are awake, we're completely resistant to all of these things that are happening. Yet we're kind of the minority, and that's, it's sad, It's sad. It's scary. But then again, we're not the ones going to get vaccinated, right? So we're the ones that are like, nope, you know, you keep your agendas to yourself. But we feel bad for humanity. And anyways, I'm getting on a tangent. Thank you guys for listening. I'm going to go ahead and play some more of this because she does amazing work. So let me make sure I don't click any wrong buttons here.
In June, he filmed a short video with former Vice President Joe Biden, encouraging young black voters to turn out on Election Day. Now, you have to add this in with everything else I've covered. And I can't recover everything in every video. They just get way too long. But Joe Biden also partnered with Lady Gaga in a abuse survivors effort, some NGO they started together. Meanwhile, Lady Gaga is sitting there surrounded by children with blood dripping down their faces. She's involved with Marina Abramovich, who did the spirit cooking things. And Ellen DeGeneres just lost her television show for supposedly just for being a horrible, mean bully person. But Ellen DeGeneres has been tied to a lot of these other situations. And Oprah, we don't even need to get started. Oprah is tied to Weinstein. Oprah is tied to John of God in Brazil, where he ran his baby mill, impregnating teenagers. Look, all the same names keep coming up over and over. Now we've got this guy, a Netflix star, who is under FBI investigation for allegedly soliciting sex from minors. There's screen grabs where he blatantly says that he can get them to a place where nobody will find them and they can do things. It's a pretty damning case. As for Joe Biden, you should go check this out. This person, Ram Rants on Twitter, he's compiled a whole thread of Joe Biden fondling little girls. This stuff is real. And if you see the videos, you will know how absolutely creepy and inappropriate it is. The girls flinch. He's got his hand right on the side of their tiny undeveloped chests, and he whispers in their ear and he kisses their head and he strokes their hair, and the parents look demoralized.
I'm gonna have to pause that one for a second too. I mean, people who are actually voting for Biden, like who actually think Biden is a better candidate for Trump, even though I don't think politics, voting, don't do it. Right? Obviously, there is nothing good about this whole system. And I think that's where the true anarchy is going to come in, is when we just stop fucking voting for any of this. Stop paying your taxes. Stop, complying. All these things. But if you had a choice, if we were literally, which we kind of are, in the Hunger Games, and you had to, literally vote for one or the other, I mean, how self-explanatory does it have to get? Joe Biden, back in the early, 60s or 70s, he had to go to therapy because he was apparently, this is back in the day when they thought that, pedophilia was something that somebody had a catastrophe to the brain, or something happened they had a head trauma, and that's what made their, whole entire world just change, and that's what they thought, this and that. Oof, gross. But he had done something with his cousins or family members, and he had to go to therapy for it. But nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that. Really? Come on. Look at him. For one, he's got serious dementia. But that's just the top of it. I'm talking about his past. He's been in the government, doing stuff within the government for how long? So long. 40 something years. And look at him. Now Trump, I don't even know where to go. Yeah, exactly. Selected, not elected. I don't even know where to go with the whole Trump thing. The only thing I do like about him is that he sticks to his guns, and he's been sticking to all of the shit that he's been been laid upon him. He is a chauvinist. He did have some things about him, but it's interesting to me that before he was running for the presidency, everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. He was the money man. He was all these things. There was nothing bad to say about the guy until he ran for president. And now the whole world's going in uproar. I had a discussion with my neighbor today who was having a discussion with her stepdaughter about the whole BLM movement and stuff like that. And I'm sorry I'm getting totally off topic, but I'm just spewing my ideas right now and just thoughts. So thanks for bearing with me, you guys. I don't get it. Like, if you really look at it with a critical eye, all these things that are happening, you could see it's right there. It's in plain sight that these things are planned. They're just like they're made for us to devour and distract and just fuck. It's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing that? Why are we even fighting against each other right now? And I was hoping by this time, actually I was hoping in the beginning of the COVID's epidemic, pandemic, plandemic, whatever you want to fucking call it. I was hoping in the beginning of that, in the first 2 weeks, that people would have an uprising and go, this is bullshit. But how quick people just fell into that, again, with, being the truther and we are the silent, we are very, very small numbers compared, but we have the loudest voices. Anyways, back to the child trafficking stuff too. It's like, I've known about this way long time ago and I ignored it. I have a daughter who's 12 years old and I knew about this when she was 6 or 7, 8 or, that's when it was coming to my attention. And I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want anything to do with it. Because I was like, that could never happen. Why would people do that to children? And now it's coming to the forefront and people still ignore it. Just with everything else in the world too, Thank you. Yeah. Why ignore anything? We can't ignore things anymore. You could turn off your TV and you could do art and you could just manifest. You can manifest what you are thinking, these things are, that side of things is true. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of practice. But we can't ignore anymore. You can't just say, oh, that's going to happen. No, it's not really happening. I don't know what the fuck is happening. Let's just, it doesn't affect my day to day. Well, if some of us are parents, you have to think of these things, right? You can't not think of these things. And they are happening. And let's just say that I would kill somebody who touched my daughter. I would fucking kill him. I hope YouTube censors me for that. All right, let's get back into the video, you guys. Thanks for listening to me rant.
And frightened, and they've got these perma smiles on their faces because they probably don't know what to do. This is all on film. You wonder why. They're all speaking with one voice to defend this film as art. It's just art, they say. All those lingering crotch shots on these 11-year-old girls where they're touching themselves, that's just art, they tell us. We're rubes. We don't get it. We don't have it in us to appreciate the nuances of this. That's what they're telling us. And FYI, they did the exact same thing with Comet Pizza, Comet Ping Pong, Pizzagate. It's the exact same thing they did there. You just don't understand what goes on in those back rooms, in those all ages concerts where they talk about killing newborn babies and they talk about having a proclivity for young boys as being just another sexual preference. Ha ha ha, they say in their demonic voices. They told us then, we just didn't get it. We're rubes. We don't get it. By the way, I had asked my Twitter, I put it out on Twitter, if anybody had just a short compilation video of all these Biden videos so that I could play it for you. And somebody tried to send me something in response to that. It was Alistair Williams, comedian. Have you heard of Alistair Williams? He's great. He's hilarious. He DM'd me. He said, Twitter just locked my account for sending it to me, a montage of the Biden stuff. And look at the reason they gave. Can you see this? We locked your account for posting content that violates our child sexual exploitation policy. Oh yeah, they lock Alistair Williams' account for sharing what Joe Biden did to those little girls. Whoa. Okay? You can see what's going on here? Can you see what's going on here? That's Joe Biden, candidate for president of the United States. The Democrats are the ones pushing this. However, child sexual exploitation, I want to stress once again, is non.
All right, gotta pause it again right there, because, again, yeah, it's like the ones that are promoting the most, like, love and peace and equality for years now. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was literally, like, under the Obama spell. You know? I was like, finally! You know? The Barry spell. Now that I know more that I should know. But this is where it all came from. It was just, it makes me so frustrated to think that I was in that mindset for a long time, you know, and it breaks my heart. These people are sick. They're so good at what they do. They're so good about manipulating people's minds. I mean, you know, they're in bed with all the MK Ultra, you know, programming and all this stuff. You know, they're so in bed with these people. It's like, that's the great awakening for me, you know, is that we're starting to see it. We're starting to realize it, even in small increments. I mean, I'm sure you guys have probably watched, you know, Out of Shadows and the Fall of the Cabal and all these things, you know. And it's like, okay, yeah, makes sense, right? But if you think about it too, like, they've had this kind of control or these plans for centuries and years, and I mean, forever, before we can even, like, think twice about it, you know, like, oh, we can't even fathom the plans and agendas they've had for a long time. And so if you think about it, they're always, like, going to be a 10-step ahead of us kind of deal. And that's what drives me insane. That's what drives me crazy, is that we're never going to catch up. We can fight, and we're going to fight, you know, and we're going to be against all of this, and we're going to win, because I can't think of any other outcome. I don't want to think of any other outcome. You know, we have to. We have there's no choice. They can't keep going on doing these things. It's not going to happen. But to know that they already know the next 10 steps ahead of us, that's what bugs me, you know. And I've looked into things. I've researched things. It seems like, you know, my cup is never overfull. You know, I always want to, like, learn more, which is great. I mean, that's the epitome of intelligence, is that you never stop looking into things. You never stop trying to figure it out, and you'll never get all the answers, right? But it would be nice to get ahead of their game, you know, for once. And I wish we could. And the only way we can do that is if these certain people who do have these certain secrets, if just one of them would be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And yes, they do have these, you know, people that come out and they're whistleblowers, and of course they, you know, they get hung by a doorknob, shit like that, you know, really interestingly way of, you know, making it public and to their masters, right? But it's just like, why, what is their Luciferian religion that strong? You know, I don't get it. I'm glad that we're finally all waking up, but I'm just, how do we get steps ahead of this? You know, I'm way ahead of myself in these things, and I'm sorry that I keep going off topic and on topic and off topic. But I just want to know, like, yeah, we could protest. Yeah, we can, you know, stand there at the gates of all these elite homes and demand something. But we can't see what's going to happen after. What's going to happen after? You know? I see a world where everybody's safe and happy. They can harvest their own water. They can grow their own food. They have their own land because that's a God-given right. You know, I see that in the future. I want that for the future. But at this point, you know, standing there with pitchforks and all these things at these elite stores isn't going to do anything. They've got all these people, these government officials, these police, these military, backing them up. And what's really sad is that these people who are backing them up, these military, these police, are just humans too. I'm so sad. I don't know what else to do. I mean, what else can we do? I'm going to read from the chat real quick. Thank you, National Memorial Gardens. Ronan, it's a heck of a thing seeing things clearly. It really is. Life-changing. You will see the bullcrap everywhere. Yeah. I mean, the signs, right? You see the signs everywhere. In movies and TV shows and all of it. It's just like, what do they say? Their symbology is going to be their downfall, right? No, that's a reset. Deaf Breed. Hello, thanks for being here. When they passed baby abortions, I was done. When the government of RI or RL did it to after New York, I was leaving the U.S. I knew and I know judgment and even more blood is coming. I mean, it's you know, I don't want to be one of those people that's just like constantly like going, oh, the rapture, the things are happening. But you know, I mean, we're looking at it in days. I mean, take it as a biblical thing, or take it as a you know, just an internal spiritual wake up call. But things are happening, and we can't ignore it anymore, right? Nelson says, I learn something new every single day. Same. They perpetuate, excuse me, the six system by compromising those at the top, so they don't dare speak out. Of course, I mean they're all like blackmailed, right? They're all been filmed at Epstein's Island, right? Of course. Sometimes I think, you know, I'm not condoning Epstein. Let me just put that out there. But sometimes I think that Epstein could have been one of those like people who was trying to do like the catch 'em while you can kind of thing. You know, he's not a guy. He's not a good guy. No, ew, gross. Sorry, no, ew, fuck Epstein. But maybe he was working for the CIA to do those things, right? I mean, it makes sense, right? I don't know. Who knows? He was the whistleblower for the CIA. I fucking don't know. Yeah. I used to watch CNL or SNL. I started writing down time every time I heard pedo jokes. It was in almost every skit, and you know, I started noticing it too. I was like, well, it's not funny. What's his name? Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell did that skit where it was just like joking around. I'm your local pedophile. I mean, this is not a fucking joke, you guys. It's not a fucking joke. Why do people think it's a joke? Yes, kill your television. Turn it off. Throw it out the window. I don't have cable. I don't subscribe to any of it anymore. I mean, the only thing I have that I get all my news from is I'm pretty much looking at my screen right now. I mean, and even then I discern myself and I'm like, whoa, I don't know, you know? Because I never know. We'll never know. We'll never know what's really happening in the world, right? Because they won't allow us to let us know. And the communication, though, how the internet turned on them, right, is that we all know that we can connect from all over the world and do these things, you know. It is what it is. It's a great thing. But it's also, you know, a very monetized, watched thing. So it's like, you can't even put anything on your channel without the worry of it being against community guidelines. It's like, what? When did community guidelines have anything to do with talking about, you know, don't fucking hurt a child? You know, like, what is that about? I just don't get it. All right, I'm going to continue with this video, you guys. It's driving me crazy. All this stuff.
Doing it. I only care that it stops. But I think it's important to mention this. Right as all of this is happening with cuties, in California, Governor Gavin Newsom signs bill changing sex offender law. The law ends discrimination by treating LGBTQ young people the exact same way that straight young people have been treated since 1944. Today, California took yet another step toward an equitable society. You want to know what that's all about? In California, there was a harsh penalty for anyone abusing an underage person if they were doing it in a homosexual relationship. So sodomy. If you sodomize a underage person in California, you used to get a certain stiff penalty for that. But they said that's not fair because the penalty for pedophiles who don't sodomize and who only vaginally penetrate young people is less. So let's lower the standard. Now everybody gets the same lower penalty. Seems to me, if you really cared about children, you would have advocated to raise the penalty for the heterosexual pedophiles to the level of the homosexual pedophiles, right? That's what it seems like to me would be sensible, but no, instead they lowered it for the homosexual pedophiles to be equal in the name of equality. All right, let's move on. Tulsi Gabbard, one of the only Democrats to come out against the movie Cuties. She said, child porn cuties will certainly whet the appetite of pedophiles and help the child sex trafficking trade. 1 in 4 victims of trafficking are children. It happened to my friend's 13-year-old daughter. Netflix, you are now complicit, she says. And this person, Elizabeth Nolan, pipes up and says, using a fake controversy to push fake news and made up stats. I don't know why I thought Tulsi was better than this, but I did. Shame on me. I mean, these guys are going all in. I mean, can you imagine them criticizing Tulsi Gabbard for having a stance against child trafficking and pedophiles? But they did. Take note, Elizabeth Nolan here is from Reason magazine. Do you recall where you saw Reason before? I mentioned it a couple of videos back, but I'll get to that in a minute. Let's look more at Elizabeth Nolan Brown. Elizabeth Nolan Brown also tweets, here's more on the insane idea that 300,000 kids are trafficked for sex in the U.S. each year. A myth that won't die, she says, in part thanks to Ashton Kutcher. And she links to a video made by Reason magazine. Here is a snippet from that video.
In the United States, there's between 100 and 300,000 child sex slaves in the United States today.
The number ran everywhere. It ran in the New York Times. It ran in USA Today. It was on CNN. Every damn media outlet took and accepted this without ever looking at the source material.
That's Michael Lacey, a former owner of Village Voice Media, which owned Backpage.com at the time. A cover story in the Village Voice revealed that the 100,000 to 300,000 number that was being talked about was being taken out of context. That's Michael Lacey, a former owner of Village Voice Media, which owned Backpage.com at the time.
Backpage.com, I covered in another video, was a major hub for sex trafficking. They would place ads on there and then they would ship the girls or boys around from the contacts they made on that site. And this Elizabeth Nolan from Reason magazine wants you to take that guy's word for this. A little bit deeper, let's look. Who else is speaking out in favor of the movie Cuties? This guy, Nick Gillespie. What percentage of folks attacking Cuties have watched even the trailer, much less the full movie, which is hardly a celebration of child sexuality, he says. He's from Reason. Kayla Stetzel. I've been called a pedophile so often over the last week for defending this film. Kayla Stetzel is from Reason magazine. This woman, Kathy Young, who hasn't seen the film, by the way, as she admits right here. Quick thought on Cuties, which I haven't seen. It's pretty obvious the film was made by a female director to condemn sexploitation of underage.
I had to pause it right there. I was like, okay. I mean, these are women who are condoning this. You know, I mean, I don't understand. I don't get how anybody, male or female, can condone any of this stuff. I have never seen the movie. I'm going to say it right now. I've never seen Cuties. I was warned about it, and I'm not going to see it because I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I would probably flip the shit out. I don't know if anybody's, seen that movie, 13. It's about a mother-daughter situation, but that was more real, you know what I mean? And that wasn't what I'm assuming this is, this disgusting, letting children just, like, defy their parents and walk around with scandalous clothes. And I mean, it's just, if this is for the sake of fucking art, then I really don't condone art anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't want to say that because art is something that I'm into. I love art. I do macrame. I do resin art. I do all kinds of stuff with art. I paint. I do all these things. And this is not art at all. And so now they're giving the art community a shitty name because this isn't art. I'm sorry, cinematography and all the things that they've been promoting and pushing for the last, I don't know how long, is bullshit, because it is sexualizing our children, which isn't okay. And I'm call me a hover mom, but I don't let my kid watch shit. I keep a close eye on everything she watches now, only because it's like, I don't want her to be one of those girls. And being the oldest of 5 children in my family, and the majority of them being girls, I would just like freak out if one of my little sisters or cousins would walk outside wearing something a little bit on the risque side. I'd be like, no. Until they were 18, I'd fucking get on their ass until they were 18. I'm like, no, this is not okay. None of this is okay. If you want to wear the booty shorts, put a fucking sweater on. If you wanted to wear the little cute little halter top, put some jeans on. Either way, you're not walking outside looking like that. And because I know that when you're walking around like that, all you're doing is you're attracting that kind of negative, energy towards you. And we've all known this. And now it's just like, oh, this is cool. No, it's not fucking cool. And but back to the art thing, it's like, well, who are you to tell me that that's art? True art is something way different. It's way different. It's putting your hands in the dirt. It's growing something. It's making something out of what you. I know what art looks like, and this is not art. Exactly, Nelson. Exactly. And it makes me nauseous because they're sexualizing children, and then now they're defaming art, like defaming the whole thing of art, just in that little bit of bullshit this bullshit person said. I love Amazing Polly for this because she breaks it down. It's like, don't. Anyways, end rant. Let's get back to the video.
Girls, blah 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 blah. If you're calling for Cuties to be censored by government as child porn, spoiler, it's not. Remember, she hasn't seen it. Or calling people pro-pedophile for defending it, please, not another word from you about cancel culture, free speech, etc. You're just in it for the culture wars. I can't even believe this woman's take. So, cancel culture? Yeah, we want to cancel pedophilia or softcore child porn. We'd like to cancel it. Andrea, or whatever your name is, Kathy. But Kathy had to say that, I think, because she works for Reason. Reason magazine. Remember this? This is where I brought your attention to Reason a few weeks back. Who funds the rioters is not a question the federal government needs to ask, they say. I had a brief look at who funds Reason, and it might surprise you to find out That Reason is supposedly right-wing. Libertarian is actually what they call themselves. They take money from the Koch Foundation. And if you look at the Reason Foundation, they belong to this group, this network called the Atlas Network. And that's a collection of right-wing think tanks. It has connections back over to the UK. So this is a surprise, isn't it? Except when you consider that libertarianism and progressivism kind of end up in the same place with this anything goes mentality. And as you can see, both of them take the stand that it's just art to exploit children. So it's left and right. They're both doing it. I want to show you the Huffington Post, their coverage of the anti-child trafficking movement and how they use statistics to downplay what's happening, but their statistics are not even backed up with the facts I can find. Let's look at this. It's out of control. How QAnon undermines legitimate anti-trafficking experts. Hold on. Why am I talking about QAnon all of a sudden? It's because one of their main defenses of cuties and one of their main ways they're trying to shame people is they're trying to say that everybody who's looking into pedophilia and child trafficking is affiliated with QAnon, or they've fallen for this QAnon propaganda effort or whatever. So I have to talk about it. And in this article, they say, the child sex trade is a global crisis. Far-right conspiracy theorists are harassing, distracting, and intimidating the organizations fighting to end it. Blatant lie. But they don't need to prove anything to you. They just use anonymous sources and they make bogus claims. So they're talking to this one person who supposedly is an activist for fighting the global child sex trade. But listen to what this person did. The person they're talking to fought to pass a California law decriminalizing child prostitution. Does not compute. But they are counting on you not to read fully and not to see their depravity. Here's more from that article. In the vast majority of sex trafficking cases involving minors, victims are not kidnapped or held captive, and they typically have existing familial or romantic relationships with their abusers. In the approximately 29,000 cases of missing kids that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children investigated in 2019, non-family abductions accounted for less than 1%. All those numbers are wrong, but let's just take the familial relationship thing, because this is a huge talking point for them, as I covered a couple of weeks ago when I talked about Kevin Roose making the exact same claim, that it's not very salacious because the kids aren't kidnapped and they're not physically forced into sex. Do you remember Kevin Roose, the dunce, talking about that? Well, he was lying then and they're lying now. Here's stats from the IOM. It's the world's largest data repository of human trafficking case data. Recruiter relationships when it comes to children. Family, 19%. Friend, 8%. Intimate partner, doesn't even show up. Other, 73%. How does...
Yeah, let's talk about that last one right there. When their statistics come back and they tell you what they want you to listen to, that's what it really bugs me again. I'm bugged by that. The normalization of like this disgusting thing has been going on for a long time. I mean, I'm a victim of, abuse when I was younger. I'm sure a lot of women are, and even men are. And for them to just turn it to make it seem like it's, I don't know. That bugs me. It bugs me. It's like, what? And where do these people get these numbers from? Whose numbers are you looking at? How do you know? I mean, this is coming from a system that's failed miserably for a while on addressing these issues. And, all right. I can't. I can't even think of how this would be in somebody's thoughts. Like, why would they even think that this was true? You know, like, how would that even be? You could tell, like, I'm so passionate about this. I'm like, why? Anybody in their right mind would think this is okay, you know, or think that was, you know. All right, sorry, I just had to rant about that for a second. Back to the video. Fuck.
That go with this less than 1%. Non-family abductions accounted for less than 1%, say the liars at Huffington Post. Jessalyn Cook, you are an official pedo cover-upperer, along with Ben Collins, Kevin Roose, Brandy Zadrozny, whatever hell her name is, and all the people I've featured in this video so far. Just so you see it one more time, get a screen grab, share it around. Even in their article about this, even from Polaris Data, which is a very sketchy organization tied to the Clintons, it says almost half of identified cases of child trafficking begin with some family member. So that means more than half don't. More than half begin with a stranger. And their misinformation and propaganda is causing normal people to have the wrong impression. Look at this person, Call Me Daisy. More than 90% of sexually abused kids are abused by people they know. Family, neighbors, pastors, and teachers. Pedophiles, look at this. Listen to this disgusting statement. Pedophiles don't generally abuse kids. What? People with sociopathic traits and substance abuse often do. The QAnon hoax pushes this false idea of normalization. It's wrong. No, Daisy, whatever your name was, you're wrong. Huffington Post did another similar article back in February of 2020. You see that the pressure on them, the cover-uppers, it's increasing. More and more articles are coming out bashing people who are looking into child trafficking. They are panicked. The interesting thing I want to point out here is what they originally called this article before they changed the headline. America doesn't need any more awareness about human trafficking. They're running out to discourage people from looking at it.
I think that's my favorite part of the video is that they're literally like, we don't need to look into this. Are you fucking kidding me right now? So the more they tell us that we shouldn't do it, guess what? The more you should. If any mainstream media or any kind of think tank, when it comes to any side that's for this, and they tell you not to do it, guess what we're going to do? We're going to do it more. We're going to look more into it. We're going to fucking see it, and we're going to call them out. We're going to expose it, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do. This is what's supposed to happen, because humans know right from wrong. I'm sorry, we do. People that are these creatures, I call them, who are soulless and don't care and have zero empathy, they don't know. They just keep continuing to do it. And psychopaths, that's what they're good at, right? That's what they're good at. They're good at manipulating, and that's why they control the world right now, because they're really good at that game, right? No more. I'm fucking done with it. And I'm sure you guys can agree with me on that one. Fucking done with it.
Unbelievable. So they try to downplay it, but they're also trying to politicize it at the same time as they're accusing our side of politicizing it. Remember, Kevin Roose, Dunce, kept saying that this is all about the Republicans and pro-Trump people going after Democrats. Well, no, as I've proven, the QAnon stuff is nonpartisan. Wants to end corruption on both sides of the aisle, on all sides of the aisle, everywhere. Specifically wants to end child trafficking. And this is provable from the Q drops. I already went over it, so I won't. So Kevin Roose is politicizing it. Everybody's politicizing it. Here's Axios putting out a tweet that says, GOP politicians are jump-starting a Netflix boycott in response to the film Cuties. Their stance is linked to a child sex trafficking conspiracy theory central to the QAnon movement. You see, Axios, they deleted this, by the way. They deleted it. Well, here, let me just refresh your memory. QAnon dropped number 2. They never believed for a moment they, Democrats and Republicans, would lose control. This is not a Republican versus Democrat battle. QAnon drop number 3, not about Republicans versus Democrats. Drop number 4, this was a hostile takeover from an evil, corrupt network of players, not just Democrats. And on it goes. On it goes. Recently, Q posted a huge list of Democrat and Republican establishment people who had been charged with crimes against children. Huge list, both parties. Here's Melissa Ryan tying this whole thing to QAnon, and when Tulsi Gabbard tweeted her objection to Cuties, Melissa Ryan jumped in there to tie Tulsi Gabbard to QAnon. It's the boogeyman du jour, QAnon, even though it is all about fighting corruption, fighting child trafficking. Now look at Travis View. He's horrible. He came after me one time, but he's so dumb, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's something I wanted to talk about there too. Like, I'm not a big, like I said in the beginning, I'm not a big QAnon fan. I don't know what and who this entity is, but I do know this. They have done nothing but awaken people, right? They've done nothing but bring to light these atrocities that have been happening for years and years and years, right? So when people are like, a lot of the truth community will say, like, QAnon's just another psyop, or it's just another distraction. Fine. I can't disagree or agree with any of that. But I know in my heart that when something is happening for the better of the community or for the better of humanity, then what's wrong with that? I see nothing wrong with that, right? So I don't get why a lot of the truth community slaps QAnon on the wrist and says you're bad. How do you know? You don't even know where it came from. Do you follow it? If you do follow it, what's wrong with understanding it? Because at this point, all information, any information from any source is good or bad, right? It could be manipulated, it could be twisted, but if it's for the good of something, what's wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So, again, like I said, I'm not a big QAnon person. I'm not a political person at all. But I do have to say there's a great awakening happening. And I'm going to say those exact words. It's a great awakening. People are finally waking up to all of this bullshit. And that's never a bad thing, right? It could turn bad, but it's never a bad thing to know truth. Truth will set us free, right? All right, back to the video.
Here he is. Note to all newsrooms, 100% of Save Our Children rallies are actually QAnon rallies. Or really, 100% of everybody. So are you taking note, Democrats? Are you taking note, Libertarians? Are you taking note, Independents, or people who hate politics altogether? Travis View here is telling you that if you want to save our children from sex traffickers and pedophiles, you are absolutely QAnon rally. QAnon tricked you, even though you may never have heard of it before. You've been brainwashed by it. If you want to save the children. Travis goes on to say, if you fail to report on the QAnon roots of these rallies, then you're just doing PR and recruitment for an online extremist movement. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? So, can Travis View admit that if you aren't speaking out against pedophilia, then you are pro-pedophilia? Will he admit that? He won't. These people are base. But the fact is, all of this negative media publicity and all these smear campaigns and people like Kevin Roose and people like Travis View, they're having real-world impact, or at least it's giving Facebook an excuse to delete people from their platform. This person says, voicing a person's outrage of child trafficking is hate speech. This is from Facebook, your group has been disabled. This is because End Child Trafficking Worldwide Now goes against our communication standards on hate speech. This is what these people are doing. They're insane. And like I said, they were put in the position of having to defend child trafficking and pedophilia. And you know what? They're actually doing it. Here's something. Jared Holt says the Arizona Democratic Party released a statement after QAnon supporters were spotted at both a Latinos for Trump roundtable and an Arizona Republican Party office. At least one QAnon supporter was spotted at Trump's Latinos for Trump roundtable in Phoenix today. A QAnon supporter was also captured by news cameras inside an Arizona Republican Party office, volunteering for Trump. Oh my God. These guys are way more obsessed with and focused on normal people who might be interested in what QAnon is saying than they are about child traffickers. This guy, someone asked him, "Hey Matt, would you let your 11-year-old daughter do the same things like acting in a movie like that?" He's referring to Cuties, of course. And Matt says, "Absolutely. If my 11-year-old daughter had the maturity level and talent and was cast in a well-written film like that, I would be a real piece of shit to not allow her to act." Wow. I don't know if he has an 11-year-old daughter, but if he does, perhaps someone should be watching him closely. The funny thing is, Matt is also an anti-QAnon person. Of course he is. It's all the rage right now among the blue checks to get your kicks in at QAnon for trying to stop corruption and trying to stop child trafficking. All good blue checks should fight against that, right? Kevin Roos and Travis View and Ben Collins and Brandy and all the rest of you. I want to play you, I think it's about 2.5 minutes, I might cut it shorter, of Matt speaking to someone on this podcast.
So why is it settling on child trafficking? Why is that the issue?
Well, who could possibly support that? It's such an easy thing to be against. Obviously, everyone is against child trafficking. And, what we've been seeing recently, actually, is QAnon is online, especially since the coronavirus pandemic, is that, QAnon first was mainly Donald Trump's most very online supporters who then would share this information that they got from these QAnon from Q on these forums to a broader online Trump public, like, mainstream Trump supporters on Facebook. And with the coronavirus pandemic, with everyone being home, they start hearing from their family or relatives who hear about this stuff from these different Facebook forums, and they start spreading it beyond these Facebook groups. And then everyone's home, bored, they're consuming this stuff, and it sort of wraps in all these different things. You have the Trump supporters who are solely focused on the Donald Trump aspect of Trump taking down his.
So you can see right there how they're trying to make it a political thing, right? It's always going to be like this political thing when it comes to the far left, I guess. Because I'm seeing both sides of the story now, it's just like, it drives me insane. It's like, okay, the left is super contradictory, or they contradict themselves constantly, right? With their, like, rhetoric of bullshit, right? And then, there is bad guys in the Republican Party too, because for a long time, I don't know about you guys, but I am a registered Democrat. I don't vote anymore. I'm never going to vote again. It's just bullshit. It's all bullshit. So you could see, because I was alive when both Bushes were president. So we know that it's just a double-edged sword, right? It's just the two wings of the same bird. But it's funny to me how, like, when the truth comes out, these people are like, yes, they are dumb. These people come out and say, like, it's just like they're protecting, and then saying that, oh, it's obvious that this is bad, but this is all because of Trump. Are you fucking kidding me? This was going on way before Trump. Way before Trump. politics is a game to distract people from truth. Yes, I absolutely agree, Nelson. It is. And what we need to do is we need to just stop with the politics, right? I mean, it's good to it's like one of those never-ending books that you can't put down, you know? And what's the slogan, right? What's the thing that people say during in crowds or when you're hanging out with your family? What are the two things you never speak about? Politics and religion, right? Because it's like one of those things that just goes on and on and on. Well, this has gone on and on and on for way too long, right? I mean, I've seen Republicans do this too to the Democrats, and I've seen Democrats. It's just, fuck, man, it makes my head want to explode. This is why I hate politics. You guys are all just. You're literally beating. It's like, it's like, you know that game when you're a kid and you use the thumbs and it's the two dudes fighting in a ring and there's like, their heads pop up and stuff like that. Well, it's almost like just to reverse that and like turn the little, fists on your head and it just, you know what I mean? It's like hit yourself in the head. Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? It's so fucked up, man. So fucked up. So stupid.
Political opponents who are doing these bad things. But then, like I said, since the pandemic, you also have, Facebook moms, middle-aged women who are very protective over their children and hate to hear, these stories of, sexual abuse against children. Because obviously, yes, horrible things. But they hear this stuff from QAnon and they get wrapped up into this world. And there you go. QAnon gains another member and continues to spread throughout the political discourse.
And we're talking with Matt Bender of Mashable.
I think it shows what they're really concerned about. The movement is growing. It's growing. And it's not just right wing anymore. That really, really scares them. Let's have a look at some other headlines to prove that. The birth of QAmom. Parenting influencers have embraced sex trafficking conspiracy theories, and it's taking QAnon from the internet into the streets. They're concerned about child trafficking, and they're taking their fight to the streets. That's what really scares them. Also, from this magazine online, Glossy, I love you, my beautiful QAnon, when lifestyle influencers also peddle conspiracy theories. You notice how child trafficking is a conspiracy theory all of a sudden, even though it's reported to be a $150 billion a year business? Which is true. Mother Jones says wellness influencers are spreading QAnon conspiracies about the coronavirus. Yes. The thing is, it's not QAnon. Well, it might be partly, which is great. And QAnon has opened so many eyes all around the world. The powers that be and the people benefiting from all of these scams, whether it's coronavirus, vaccines, child trafficking, the lockdown, the fourth industrial revolution, what else? The Spygate narrative, the anti-Trump stuff. It's all coming together. Because actually it does all link back to the same cabal of globalist oligarchs. They're all in it. How did you think they bought all the media? To tell you that child trafficking is a conspiracy theory. That the idea that somebody might have been spying on the president is a conspiracy theory. The idea that vaccines might cause damage to you is a conspiracy theory. The idea that they really haven't isolated the virus and lockdown is a total sham, that's a conspiracy theory. You see how handy it is for them? And all these things are coming together because there is a great awakening. I just love how they acknowledge that the lockdown has spread these messages and connected people. Mike Bender admitted it, and this chart proves. Look at this. Look at the spike. By the way, I got that graph from Brandy Zadrozny. I can't say her name. Listen to her, by the way. She's reading. Brandy Zadrozny is just so passionate about fighting against QAnon and conspiracy theories that she has to read her segment on Ali Velshi's show.
Mark Andre Argentino is a data scientist and he studies extremists. He made this chart for me using CrowdTangle, which is a Facebook-owned tool. It shows the activity of hundreds of the largest QAnon groups. Do you see that spike? That's in March, when states began COVID-19 lockdown measures. But it hasn't just grown. QAnon content is reaching a new audience and in some unexpected places. Anti-vaccination, anti-mask activists have embraced the conspiracy theory. Instagram is riddled with QAnon conspiracies, spread in flashy posts by lifestyle influencers, mommy bloggers, and alternative health pages. And in some 200 cities and towns across the U.S. last month, moms, often with kids in tow, gathered in their main streets, holding signs branded with QAnon messages. Now, after 6 months of rapid growth, Facebook finally took some action, removing some, but not all, of the QAnon groups that were explicitly discussing violence. Twitter made a similar stronger sweep the week before, and those moves have decreased but not eliminated QAnon activity on the platforms. Ali?
All right, so
God, she's pathetic, but I do love the panic. I do love that they're trying to say that anybody looking into any of this is a conspiracy theorist. We've won. It's just a matter of them, you know, getting to their last breath. They'll get there.
Yeah, that's my favorite part right there. And she says, we've won. We have won. And it's true. Because you see all these things crumbling around us. You see Hollywood crumbling. You see politicians scrambling. You see people shaking in their boots that would normally not. And I think that's amazing. And if it has to do with Q, great. Fucking great. I'm not going to condemn this if it's doing something right for the people and for children. You know? Because this pedophile thing, like I said before, it's been going on for years and years and years and years before any of this, before Trump, before any of it. I was hearing stories about this stuff. People were screaming in their silent screams for years about this. And now it's coming to the forefront. You can't ignore it forever, right? You just can't, right? And I don't care where it came from, but if people are actually really realizing that these things are happening and they're doing something about it now, that's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. I don't care where it came from, but people are actually doing something about it. They're not just doing something about it, but they're understanding that it's real. You know, it's a real thing. There's videos, constant videos that I see all the time of children being abducted in the middle of the fucking day. And we just turn a blind eye. For years, we've turned a blind eye. I've seen these videos. You know, there's more videos about rescuing puppies and kittens. You know, it's like, come on. Let's think about this. Let's just figure this out. And it's been something that's been on my mind for, a while now. And I'm glad you guys are here with me. And thank you for hanging out with me and letting me vent about this and talk about this, because it's something that needs to be talked about. Undeniably, you can't ignore it anymore. You know? We can't ignore this. And I love that, the UK is doing a lot of stuff like, sorry, was it Ronan or was it Nelson that said, Nelson said, that there's a lot of stuff going on in the UK right now, and I'm following it. I'm totally following it right now. And I am super happy to see it, I wish I could see more of that here. Unfortunately, I'm in Oregon, where Antifa's running fucking amok, and it's just bullshit. And we're on fire. And so, of course, these states are being distracted with all these other stupid-ass agenda plotted things, And that's going to be another video I want to cover, too, because the fires here are not, we know that the fires for the last 4 years up and down the West Coast are not natural, but I have another video coming about that because I got to talk about that. But the things that are really happening right now, I don't know, they need to be addressed. And this is one of those real things for me. And I'm glad that you guys are here to listen to me and, understand what I'm going through. Especially if you're a parent, This video is almost done, and then I'm going to call it a night, but let's go ahead and finish the video real quick.
Because it's all falling apart. The arson story is all falling apart. The corona hoax is falling apart. The global government is being exposed. And child trafficking, their cash cow, their golden ticket, human trafficking in general, people are waking up, people are realizing it. And this is global. Definitely a global awakening happening right now. And no amount of Ali Velshi fake newsing it up is going to stop it.
So what do you do if you've got friends, you've got coworkers, you have neighbors who believe this QAnon stuff? Shannon Foley Martinez is, and I hope you're sitting down for this, an ex-neo-Nazi and a current Yale professor who specifically works to de-radicalize people who've fallen victim to online radicalization. Shannon, thank you for joining us on the show.
Sure. I'm not a Yale professor. I'm a consultant at Peril at American University, just to clear that up. So
you're accusing me of disinformation already. I'm 30 minutes into the show, and I've already provided disinformation.
Oh, Ali, you're so funny. You're so funny and phony with your phony fake guests. Ali Velshi is a subject for another day. So let's wrap this up. I just want to remind everybody that Cuties is exploitation of young children, 11-year-old children. It is softcore child porn. And we've got all kinds of people coming out to defend it. These people are either employed by or are themselves the usual suspects. The public hates it, as these thumbs downs show. Some lawmakers are looking into it as a criminal act. We've got somebody from another Netflix show that's just been targeted by the FBI for investigation for soliciting sex from minors. And that guy happens to have been hanging around with a bunch of usual suspects, especially Gropey Joe, Creepy Joe, Gropin, Handsy, Pedo Joe, and a bunch of the usual suspects, funded by all the usual suspects, are coming out in favor of this thing, calling it art, trying to shame everybody, trying to tell people that if they are concerned about it at all, they've probably been brainwashed by QAnon. QAnon is great. It has awoken so many people, and I don't want to take a single thing away from it. I am a big fan, but it's highly likely that most maybe, people who are against this Netflix show have never even heard of QAnon. It simply is repulsive on its face. You don't need to know anything about QAnon to know that. All right, I'm going to stop talking now. If you would like to support my work, please send me a
All right, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. You guys are awesome. I'm gonna go back to the David Icke video real quick of the part that I really love, and as a sign out, because it makes sense to me, and just keep pushing truth and come hang out with me anytime. I want to do these live streams more often. You know, I play rookie even though I've been doing it for a minute, but I do appreciate you guys, and mwah, I love you guys. Love all of you. Just, protect our children and keep speaking truths. Love you guys.
The Behavioral Insights team, and its job is simply to study human psychology and then to play out what it's learned to re-modify the behavior of the population, and they are focusing on our kids more than anyone. What they don't want us to know, the biggest mind trick they play on us, is this. They want us to believe that authority has power. Authority has no power. Authority's power the world over is only our power which we give to them. to the beaches a few weeks ago. There was no chance of unsocial distancing. So they were sitting together in their thousands. The local authority declared a major incident. Okay, declare it. But what are you going to do about it? Well, there's nothing we can do, is there? There's too many people that won't obey. Exactly. This world is controlled by a tiny few people because of a simple sequence of imposition and acquiescence. All the way down the pyramid, imposition, acquiescence. The next level acquiesces and imposes on the next level, and then it goes down to us, the people. And if we acquiesce to that level of the hierarchy that seeks to impose on us, i.e. government, police, then we complete a circuit between the tiny few in the shadows and the entire global population. And that circuit means that a tiny few impose their agenda on billions of people. How do we break that sequence? We stop acquiescing. Human race, get off your knees! The light